What's up, everyone? I'm Grant Cohn, coming live from my car. I got Vish looking way better than me. Shaved, got a collared shirt on, prepared.
Yeah.
Me, basically, I'm just in Tahoe trying my best to do my job. I'm on 5G connection right now, so this is pretty janky. But I'm here. This is Mondays with Vish, baby. I want to know what Vish is. What do you think of what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch said today?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
What do you think of what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch said today?
Yeah, I thought it was super interesting because there's been a lot of speculating and arguing going on Twitter. And it seemed like Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch were having those same Twitter arguments amongst themselves on trying to figure out how to fix the 49ers. Like when you look at their entire long-term plan, what I really took away was I think they were as surprised as you and I were that they were able to bring back this roster as is. I think they, as you and I had been hypothesizing since January, looked at Jimmy Garoppolo's contract and being able to retain this roster and build it up as an elephant in the room. And they were thinking that by keeping this contract, they were going to have to lose some pieces this year and try to reload, but get a rookie. They still get a rookie. Like the rookie quarterback and the rookie wage scale, they seem to be convinced was their answer. So it seemed like they were going with that route. It seemed like they were surprised that they were able to bring everybody back. And I think that also helped them really push to make a move in order to get the number 3 overall pick and hopefully get their quarterback of the future, their franchise guy.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you this. Do you buy what the Niners said, that they basically were going to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, or they would have been open to trading him, but they did so well in free agency that they owe it to themselves to have a veteran quarterback who can win now?
Not necessarily. I think that the Jimmy Garoppolo conversation is still quite open-ended. Like, I still think there are like 4 or 5 teams that are still in desperate need of a starting quarterback. And whatever you want to say about Jimmy Garoppolo, he is a for sure starting quarterback that you can go into a season with and feel like I can win. I can go to the playoffs with him. So for those reasons, I feel like it's smart. It's the most prudent move for them to say we're still 100% invested, because there's going to be teams that are going to be calling about him. And if the 49ers are invested in keeping him and they're interested in protecting his value, then they have to say this. Now, I think that the scenario of keeping him now, like, it makes sense because everybody's back on a 1-year deal. We've talked about this. They have 21 of 22 confirmed positions with starters. I guess 20 if you want to include quarterback, with right guard being the only position of flux. So when you have a team that good, like I understand, because financially now Jimmy Garoppolo, it's okay for him to be your quarterback next year. It all makes sense. So from that standpoint, yes, I do understand it. When they go on and on about how they need him next year and how they want him to be their guy next year, I don't necessarily buy that 100% just because of the nature of the market and Jimmy Garoppolo's value after the draft, depending on that, how that goes, could be at an all-time high.
Okay, so we don't need to talk about Jimmy too long because we're here to talk about the rookies. But I think we should start by talking with Jimmy. And in the sense of, like, how do you see this ending for Jimmy in San Francisco? What's the end game here?
I look at the end game for him with 3 different scenarios. The first scenario I see for him is that it all ends well for him. He starts next year. He has a good season, similar to 2019 in terms of his stats. The Niners maybe win a playoff game, or they go to the playoffs and lose in the first round. And he has a really solid season, and he eventually gets traded in similar fashion to Alex Smith, maybe not as much, but maybe for a couple 2s and a 4th. And he goes somewhere and he signs a contract, and he's the short-term, long-term guy for that next franchise. Because, I mean, he'll be 31, so they're not going to pay him like a 7-year deal, but he gets a 3-year extension. And for that short term, for that regime and coaching staff, he's their guy. So I see that as one scenario. The second scenario I see is that this gets ugly fast. I mean, Matt Barrows just went on I saw a radio clip of Matt Barrows starting to talk about Jimmy's side of the story, and which is something that we haven't heard much. And he said that they've been hurt by the fact that the Niners organization, or he said that he feels that the Jimmy Garoppolo camp feels like the Niners haven't protected him that much in terms of, okay, occasionally John Lynch goes on radio and says Jimmy Garoppolo's our guy, blah, 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 but they're openly flirting with everybody, and his name is constantly with bad press and whether he's their quarterback and stuff. So from that standpoint, like, I think it could be a leak, kind of gets ugly, and he eventually wants out, and he gets out and he goes somewhere, and maybe he has a good season, maybe he doesn't. And then the third scenario I see for him is he goes out, he stinks it up, the rookie takes his job, thus ending any projection of Jimmy Garoppolo being a starter in the NFL for 2022 or 2023. It would have to be him. He would have to go somewhere, take a 1 year, $7 million, $8 million deal, maybe have to sit as a backup, or maybe have to go compete with a job for a young guy. But I think that would really kill his chances of somebody bringing him in and saying, this is our starting quarterback.
Okay, let me tell you real quick my take. Tell me what you think, and then we'll move on to other stuff. I think the Niners have maybe some question as to, is my connection terrible?
No, it's not too bad.
Okay. I think there's just some question as to the readiness of this quarterback that they're going to draft for whatever reason, and because there may not even be mini camps and OTAs. So I think they feel like when Jimmy loses his job officially, then they'll trade him. But until this rookie goes on the field and proves that he's ready, they have to keep Jimmy.
That's fair. I don't like say like, oh, that's not a unlikely scenario. I actually tweeted it out the day of the trade. I don't know if you saw it because I know you've been vacationing in Tahoe, but everybody immediately latches onto the Patrick Mahomes, Alex Smith situation. But if you remember the year before in 2016, there was the Sam Bradford, Carson Wentz situation. And that's where I think maybe the Niners could be in play. Like Carson Wentz, if you remember, started one preseason game, I want to say, then he got hurt. And then the Eagles traded Sam Bradford for a 1 and a 4 to the Vikings because Teddy Bridgewater had the catastrophic knee injury. And so Vikings were desperate. So the Eagles unloaded Sam Bradford, who was making $18 million at the time, for a 1 and a 4. And they started the season with Carson Wentz. Now, the details are going to be different, but it's kind of the same highly paid, often injured starting quarterback that gets moved because rookie starter is the incumbent guy that's going to take the job over. It's a similar context of situation. So from that standpoint, I don't think that's crazy. And I think that's very possible. That could be a scenario where somebody's starter gets hurt, like Indianapolis Colts. They're kind of a win now team right now. Carson Wentz gets hurt. They have the money to make a move for Jimmy Garoppolo. Do they want to risk a season with Jacob Eason because Jacoby Brissett's gone? That's where it makes sense. Go trade a pick to get Jimmy Garoppolo. Just like that, the Chicago Bears. What happens if Andy Dalton gets hurt in camp? Right. Go make a move to get Jimmy Garoppolo. Washington football team, Ryan Fitzpatrick, or whoever that guy is gets hurt in camp. Go make a move to get Jimmy Garoppolo. So from that standpoint, I 100% agree with that line of thinking too. And that should be scenario number 4 of what could happen to Jimmy Garoppolo.
Okay, enough of Jimmy, because he's history. Or he's going to be history soon. Let's get right into it. Who do you think the 49ers think they're going to get?
Grant, you know me. I'm all about speaking it into existence, baby. And I started speaking one thing into existence. Kyle said his name. I felt like I was dreaming. He said his name today during the presser, and that one really hurt. But, the Matthew Stafford thing didn't work. But after the Matthew Stafford thing, since I've really gotten the college all-22 and I've started watching these quarterbacks, who I've kind of liked in terms of the 49ers, and we've disagreed with it. But I'm going to just speak them into existence, and I'm going to say Justin Fields, and I'm going to speak that into existence. Look, the QB collective stuff is fun, right? That's fun. John Beck being his QB coach is fun. It's all good because you think it fits so well. I mean, at the end of the day, do I think that's going to make an absolutely large difference here? No, I really don't. I think at the end of the day, Kyle Shanahan's going to watch the college film, and that's what he's going to form his opinion on. And he didn't do any QB collective camps when he was in college, and Kyle wasn't coaching QB collective when Justin Fields was in college. So I don't think it's going to make much of a big deal from that standpoint. I just think it's a perfect fit. I think what Kyle Shanahan is looking for in terms of a dynamic athlete, a guy who can enhance his run game. Like, I think the run game with Justin Fields would be real. I think the down the field throwing, like, he's everything Jimmy kind of isn't, because he's a really accurate down the field thrower, especially outside the numbers. and especially inside the numbers. I think that's exactly what they're looking for. In terms of toughness, he really, really checks that box. He's maybe the toughest quarterback in the draft. He certainly is in my mind. So I think it's going to be Justin Fields. I know there's some smoke around Mac Jones. I wouldn't hate it. I'm not too far into the Trey Lance camp. I'm really not into that. I know you aren't either. There's a long way to go. We're gonna have fun speculating for the next month, but I'm gonna stick with Justin Fields.
Okay, we're kind of inventing the format of this show on the fly because I'm so prepared. I haven't even shaved. I look terrible. Anyway,
it's okay, Grant. I think you look okay.
At least I got my fly Levi's jacket on. Shout out Levi's. Let's just stick with Fields. Let's go quarterback by quarterback. I don't think they're targeting Fields, but what do I know? Let's stick with Fields. The follow-up I want to ask you is, do you think they're targeting Fields, or do you want them to target Fields?
I want them to target Fields.
Okay. Do you think that Fields is the number 2 quarterback on their draft board?
No, I think that's Trevor Lawrence.
And you think number 1 is Zach Wilson?
Yeah.
Okay, so you think that Zach Wilson will not be available at number 3?
Okay, so right now the scenario I laid out, yes, I don't think Zach Wilson will be available.
We'll get into Zach Wilson later. Let's stick with Justin Fields. So in this scenario, Wilson, Lawrence go 1, 2 in the other order, and then Fields is the next guy up, the number 3 guy on the 49ers board. That's interesting. I think I would probably lean towards Mac Jones being that guy, but Kyle certainly does know Justin Fields better than he knows the other guys.
Yeah, for sure. Now, knowing him as a 17-year-old, I'm sure helps, but he's a different guy now. He's a different man. Like, Justin Fields and I have the same trajectory because we're both 21 years old. I'm certainly a lot different from when I was 17. That was 4 years ago. So I'm pretty sure Justin Fields is also a little different as a person, his maturity and everything from when he was 17. I'm sure he's always been mature because he's super confident, carries himself great. I'm not saying anything like that. But yeah, I do think that. I just think that he's what the doctor ordered for this offense. Now, if it's Mac Jones, I'm not going to hate it. I think we should touch on it at some point in this show because I think everybody is just like, oh, if it's Mac Jones, I'm stopping watching football and all of that. And so I don't think I think Mac Jones is getting a lot, like too much where people are thinking he would be a bad pick. So I do want to touch on that in a bit. But yeah, I'm 100% in, like, get the Justin Fields train rolling. We're going to start speaking it into existence, Grant, only to watch the Jets take him at 2 just because you know what happens.
Hey, man, you're on your own with the Justin Fields hype train. No, let's move on now to Mac Jones. Let's do Mac Jones and then Trey Lance and then Zach Wilson. What are your thoughts on Mac Jones? If he ends up being the pick, what would you think of that?
So if you remember, actually, before I got to college all 22, right? If you remember, I was always looking for reasons to tell you why Mac Jones wasn't good. I always asked you questions because you got it before me. I think you got it like 2 weeks before me. And you kept telling me, well, Mac Jones isn't bad. Mac Jones isn't bad. And I kept asking you, well, does he do this? How can you tell the difference between what Sark's coaching him and what he's scheming him up and all of that? Like, I was just looking for reasons to tell you why Mac Jones wasn't good. But then you turn on the film with Mac Jones, and all you can really say is, wow, he's good. Like, do you wish he looked cooler? Do you wish he had a flashier play style? Do you wish his arm was stronger? Do you wish he ran faster? All those things, 100%. I wish, definitely. But there's nothing you can say, well, wow, he throws with so much anticipation. Wow, he's so accurate. Wow, his deep ball is really good. Wow, he throws the ball down the field. Wow, he has good feet. Wow.
Decisive.
He's so decisive. He always knows where to go with the ball. Oh, look, somebody's blitzing him. Oh, wait, Mac Jones just diced him for a 12-yard game. Like, the Alabama offense was just a well-oiled machine with great scheme, great weapons, and great quarterback play. All 3 of those things went together. It's like the 2016 Falcons offense was kind of like, it was so precise.
Right, and when Kyle would look at that and be like, yeah, I mean, he's on a really good team with really good weapons, but
that's what you're going to provide him.
I can give him that too. I can't give him the same offensive line, I mean, relatively speaking, but I can give him the same level of scheme and weapons. I actually think Mac Jones is the number 3 guy on the Niners board ahead of Justin Fields. I think that Kyle may be evolving, but I still think that he will look at Mac Jones' anticipation and accuracy and fall in love.
Look, here's what here's what he said in today's press conference, and this is what's really important to remember, okay? What Kyle wants is that you have to be a guy that wins from the pocket and plays like a quarterback first. And that's what people missed with the Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watsons, Josh Allen's. Those guys play quarterback first, and then they run around and make these ridiculous plays. I think Kyle is the kind of guy that prefers the Ryan Tannehills and the Kirk Cousins to Kyler Murray, who doesn't always play quarterback first, but he runs around and makes a ton of plays. I think he prefers the guys who play quarterback. And then, of course, if you play quarterback and add the added element of off-schedule plays like Aaron Rodgers, like Patrick Mahomes, like Josh Allen, like Deshaun Watson, then, of course, he's going to 100% like you. You're one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL then.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a possibility it's Mond. You think it's Field. I think Mond. Mac Jones. These names are all running together at me. Real quick, this guy says, well, what about if it's Mond? Now, Kyle said really clearly that there's 5 guys.
Yeah. And he voiced all 5. Yeah, he named all 5 too. Yes. He named all 5 because he said all 5 are the 5 that everybody's been talking about throughout this process.
So if Chris Sims gave up a secret about Kellen Mond, it must be only a few teams. It must not be a consensus that the whole league sees Kellen Mond better than Trey Lance or something.
And the thing with Chris Sims is that he forms his own opinions, right? Yeah. He's not forming, just because he has an opinion doesn't mean Kyle agrees with his opinion. Like, him and Kyle are friends, but I'm sure part of their friendship is that they both go do their homework and have conflicting opinions, and then they debate them. Like, certainly that's what me and my friends do on a much lower level. We just talk about football and just talk about different
nothing.
Yeah, and it's fun to just disagree about it and bring up different points and just learn more from each other. And I think that's what they kind of do. Because I'll say this, what I do remember of Chris Sims, and I've been a Sims and Lefko listener for a long time, I remember he thought the CJ Beathard pick in the 3rd round wasn't a very good pick. Now, he says it a lot lighter because it's his buddy Kyle, but he thought that the next Kirk Cousins stretch and reminding him of Kirk Cousins and all of that was quite a stretch. He thought it was a giant stretch. So he doesn't always agree with Kyle, but so just because he likes Mond or he thinks Fields or he thinks Jones should be the pick and he thinks Jones is the 3rd best quarterback and would be the perfect fit for Kyle's offense doesn't mean Kyle is thinking in the exact same line.
Okay. Let's go to Lance because you've been watching a lot of film of Lance and you have very strong opinions of what his comparison is, and I haven't heard anyone else make this comparison, and I think it's dead on. So why don't you tell me what you think of Lance? Because I think some people like him better than Fields, and you're like, what? How?
That I don't get. Other than being maybe a little more like Fields' throwing motion is maybe a little longer, or not a little longer. It's a little slower. Lance has got a quicker release. I don't understand how you can like Lance over Justin Fields. Like, the only thing people say is upside, but I would argue that Fields is every bit as fast. He's every bit as strong. He has every bit as strong an arm, and he has data and substance that you can actually look at that's substantive over an expended period of time where you can actually see who he is. With Trey Lance, what are you looking at? And one of the things I think that's been weird is that I think Trey Lance's coverage in this throughout this entire process thus far has been optimum. We've seen like false media narratives be crept up on each and every one of the quarterbacks outside of Trevor Lawrence, who's kind of been protected and just been out of the way through this entire process, that have all actually applied to Trey Lance as much as they apply to those other players. So let's start with Mac Jones, right? People bring up the team he played with, the protection he received, the receivers he had. Okay, well, Trey Lance plays in the FCS for the Alabama of the FCS. NDSU has won like the last 4 FCS championships. They're a powerhouse. They are a powerhouse. Trey Lance by far had the best protection of all these quarterbacks. I don't think you can disagree with that. And okay, Trey Lance's receivers, you don't know their names. You don't know Devonta Smith. You don't know Jalen Waddle. But relative to the corners they're going against in the FCS, they're all much better. So his supporting cast, they're like a Power 5 school playing in the FCS. That's one.
Go ahead.
With Zach Wilson, we hear the level of competition, right? Who did BYU play? And with the protection he received. Again, Trey Lance received the best protection of all the quarterbacks, and he played in the FCS. which is the worst conference of all these quarterbacks. He played worse competition than Zach Wilson. That's just a fact. And then finally with Justin Fields, people say Justin Fields is a one-read quarterback. I don't know where that comes from. I don't think I think you have questions on how decisive Justin Fields is at the top of his drop, but you don't think he's a one-read quarterback, right?
No,
right.
You can see him, but Lance.
Yeah, with Lance, I'm not saying he's a one-read quarterback, but you don't get enough. Like a lot of his throws, he threw the ball 18 times a game, okay? He threw the ball 18 times a game over the season. So that's not even going to happen in the NFL. Like even if they were up 30-0, you expect the guy to throw the ball more than 18 times in the NFL. And in those 18 times, a lot of them were schemed up throws off play action where a lot of it has only one defined read. So like, okay, how do you tell that he can actually function in a drop back pass game and go through multiple progressions 20 times a game?
True. Real quick. Don't mean to cut you off, but to add to your point, people say, well, he played 17 games in college. So did Mac Jones. A lot of these guys that don't have experience.
He had double the pass attempts.
The dude threw 280 passes. I mean, like Kyle Trask would throw 280 passes in like 6 games.
Here's another example.
Like 6 games.
Here's another example, okay?
6 games.
DJ Ungalele, another QB collective guy, 5-star recruit, went to the same high school as Josh Rosen. He filled in when Trevor Lawrence had COVID, okay? He had 2 starts last year, and he played just about every game because Clemson would just basically buzzsaw everybody in the ACC. And he had 1 game where he played he threw the ball more than 10 times. So in 2 starts, he threw the ball 35 plus times both starts, and he had 117 attempts on the season. Grant, he needs to play just half of next year, and then if he sits the next 2 years, you're going to call him a top 5 pick because you've seen 280 throws of him?
It's unreal. It's unreal that his draft stock could be this high off of 280 throws. No one's 280 throws of that.
This is unprecedented.
No one.
And this is the kind of stuff, if you remember, that people said up like, look, Trey Lance is more gifted than the guy I'm going to name. So don't come yell at me. He is more gifted. He's got a stronger arm. He's faster. He's a better runner. But the guy I'm going to name was pretty darn gifted coming out of college too. And he had only 13 starts, and he still had 572 college throws compared to Trey Lance's 288, and that's Mitchell Trubisky.
That's right.
And he was picked over Deshaun Watson. This is the Trey Lance, Justin Fields conversation is Mitchell Trubisky, Deshaun Watson to me all over again. How is Trubisky better than Deshaun Watson? How? Just like that, how is Trey Lance better other than having a smoother delivery than Justin Fields? How is he better than Justin Fields?
How? I don't see how Trey Lance is better than Kellen Mond, but that's a different story for another day. I'm with you on this. I don't see how you can look at a dude's 280 pass attempts and be like, dude, top 5 pick right there. I mean, even Trubisky had what, 500, 450,
572.
Yeah, 572. And again, tell people the similarities between Trubisky and Lance in terms of mechanics.
Well, this is not me. This is Dan Orlovsky. He put it on ESPN, and I remember seeing this, and it's interesting because the nice thing about it is he's an expert. He knows quarterback mechanics. He's been a quarterback, so he knows these things really well, and you get to learn something like this, and you go back and watch, and he talked about how Trey Lance's success in the NFL is going to be about his back foot because it's straight when he throws the ball. And he said this is the thing, in his opinion, that's plagued Mitchell Trubisky's entire career in terms of accuracy issues in the NFL. And then if you go back and watch Trey Lance's footwork the 1 year he played at NDSU and Mitchell Trubisky's footwork the 1 year he started at UNC, like, okay, they're not the same player, but when he makes a comparison like that and you go see it, it's hard not to see the similarities in their lower body mechanics. Now, Lance's trajectory could be totally different. Trubisky went to a bad situation with the Bears. You know how I feel about the Bears, and Trubisky was also less talented than Lance, so I'm not calling him the next Trubisky. I'm not even saying he's similar to Trubisky. I'm just saying that people need to slow down a little bit because the hype train with him is getting a little out of hand. And it's actually bothering me that his hype train is going up so high and people are getting so low on Justin Fields. It makes no sense.
Real quick, do you think the Niners take Lance?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
The starts thing is so real, right? Even the 17 starts with Mac Jones is scary because if you remember, you and I were talking about this. I can't think of, outside of Kyler Murray, who's maybe one of the better athletes, or if not the best athletes in the NFL, just sole athletes. I mean, he was a top 10 pick in baseball, top 10 pick in football. there's not a quarterback that I would call a top 10, top 20 quarterback in the NFL that had less than 20, 21 starts in college.
That's right. And people
I'm
look
trying
like
to
Justin
think.
Herbert, they're like, well, he came out of nowhere. He had a ton of starts in college.
He started 2 years, 2 full seasons.
Yeah, and I think he was playing as a freshman. He played a
Right.
lot of football in college.
Even Zach Wilson, like for all the Zach Wilson only had 1 year. He only had 1 year where you were aware of him. He had 2 years where he did play a lot of football.
That's right.
Joe Burrow, same thing. He started 14 games the year before he had his national championship year?
Yep. Okay, well, Chris Bucco has sources. He says it's a done deal with the Jets and Zach Wilson. Chris, all due respect, I don't think you're right. I think that the Jets are not going to take Zach Wilson. I want to ask you what you think about this, Fish. I don't think they're going to take Zach Wilson. I think it's been pretty clear coming out of New Jersey that either ownership or the front office feels that Sam Darnold hasn't been given a fair shot, and that the job there is to put a supporting cast around him, and just swapping him out for another quarterback wouldn't necessarily put the next quarterback in a position to succeed, even if he's good. So what I think they're going to do, I don't think it's a coincidence that this trade was consummated when the Niners were at the BYU Pro Day. I'm guessing that Kyle spoke to Saleh. He said, look, man, you don't need to tell me who you're taking, but just tell me if you're not taking Zach Wilson. Let me know. And Robert says, I can't lie to you, man. We're not going to take Zach Wilson. It's not our guy. If you want to move up to 3, go for it. I think that's probably what happened. And then on draft day, the Niners will make a little swap, the two, what they did with Chicago, except the other way around. And the Niners will move up and get Zach Wilson. And the Jets will move down and get Kyle Pitts, who I think is going to be the top non-quarterback taken. I guess him or Sewell. But why would they take an offensive tackle? They took one last year. I think Pitts would be the guy. It would be Mike LaFleur getting his George Kittle. It kind of makes sense. What do you think?
The one reservation I have so I have 2 problems with this line of thinking. I love that line of thinking from the 49ers perspective, because to me, Fields and Wilson are like, my hands aren't seen. They're like this for me. They're in the same level. So they're kind of the same for me. I'd be ecstatic with either. But the thing with the Jets is that 2 things. The first thing is that I just don't think this is the draft to not take a quarterback. See, when you're sitting there at 2, and I think even if you're going down to 3, there's just not a non-quarterback in this draft that that's worth taking. There's no Nick Bosa. There's no Chase Young. There's no that one player in this draft that should be a top 5 pick as a non-quarterback, that's just a generational guy that's a plug and play. You don't have much questions about him. So
I think people really like Kyle Pitts, man.
Yeah, but the position, I think taking the tight end at 2 or 3 is always it's always rich, and he's great. He's really great. He's every bit as good. But he's one of the few players where the hype is legit. So that's 1. 2, Albert Breer said this morning in his article that the Niners are pretty assured that the Jets are staying pat at 2. So it's always been moving up to 3. And 3,
maybe they just flat out take Kyle Pitts at 2.
If you're Roberts, the bottom line is that they've tried to move Sam Darnold. It feels like for 2 months now, there's just no market for Sam Darnold. It looks like Sam Darnold's agents have done a great job of making ESPN people constantly say that everybody's interested in Sam Darnold. He's so talented. He's so good. But the bottom line is that we've seen teams shell out $10 million for a 37-year-old Ryan Fitzpatrick instead of paying a 2nd-round pick for Sam Darnold. We've seen that type of things happen. We've seen enough articles where people talk to executives and they say, maybe a 3rd, maybe you bring him in for a 4th. But we've seen stuff like that. The contractual situation with him sucks. It really does suck in terms of having no financial tie to him after this year without having to pay him a large amount of guaranteed money. So from that standpoint, it makes no sense. And then if you're Robert Saleh, if you're Joe Douglas, if you're Mike LaFleur, you're looking for job security. If you keep Sam Darnold and Sam Darnold does not play good football once again next year, then, man, your timetable out of New York starts quickly because you couldn't turn around Sam Darnold, and the media fawns over Sam Darnold. So the media is going to blame you for not being able to turn around Sam Darnold, then blaming Sam Darnold himself. that's just one side point. I didn't. That doesn't really have much to do with it. But the other thing is that if you go and pick Zach Wilson, even if your team is bad, which it is, though, I think they'll have a better situation for Zach Wilson than they did for Sam Darnold when he was picked. And I do think Zach Wilson is a better player than Sam Darnold when he was coming out of college, but that's besides the point. The one thing that you're going to have, if you're Joe Douglas, if you're Michael Thor, if you're Robert Saleh, you're going to have at least 2 years. There's going to be no pressure on you to win until Zach Wilson's third year. You're going to be playing with house money. If you look at Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray, the honeymoon stage has just ended for them, and they're going to have to go win this year. Otherwise, Cliff is probably gone, and it's like that. So they got 3 years to work with. 3 years is a long time in the NFL in terms of job security. So from that standpoint, I just, as much as I would like for them to stick with Sam Darnold and let the Niners take Zach Wilson and things to go well like that, it just doesn't feel like a likely scenario to me.
I just think it's pretty clear that no one knows what they're going to do. Like people don't even, John Lynch today said, well, it's unknown what the Jets are going to do. I didn't buy that. But like publicly, you don't even know if they're going to take a quarterback. I mean, they're not saying what they're going to do. And it seems to me like the PR spin they're trying to sell on the East Coast is that Gay sucked. Darnold never had a chance. And they're going to give him a chance. I don't know if it's going to work, but I think that's what they're trying to sell. And if that's what they're trying to sell, then just repeat.
You know what I think they're trying to sell, Grant? I think you're right that they're trying to sell something. I just think you're missing what they're trying to sell. And I think what they're trying to sell is Darnold himself. Grant, he hasn't been moved.
Yeah, but Darnold isn't worth anything. I mean, you're not going to get anything for Darnold.
That's the point. I think they're trying to sell that this guy is just Gase's problem. But the other thing for him is that Adam Gase isn't coaching anywhere where he might want to reclaim Sam Darnold. Hold on. Jeremy Bates isn't anywhere.
Hold on, but they're telling their fan base, like, look, it's not Darnold's fault. He didn't have a chance. Then to bring in another quarterback who wouldn't have a chance, it's like the same logic would apply. It just doesn't seem like they'd be talking out both sides of their neck at that point.
Arizona did that, Grant. Arizona tried telling you that it's not Josh Rosen's fault, and they even had 2 franchise players in Quinnen Williams and Nick Bosa in the draft to kind of sell it. They took Kyler Murray, and there was something different from day one with their franchise. Excuse me.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I just had to turn my car on because my phone was gonna die. But can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. What else are we talking about today, Fish?
Nothing much. I mean, how are you doing, Grant?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm hanging in there. Can you hear me still?
I got you.
All right, cool. I've never done a live show from the Stinger before. This is a little new. But
yeah, I mean, I thought you were gonna come out here and show off the Stinger, but you've been keeping it light.
I'm just showing off the jacket today, man. It's like 55 degrees in Tahoe, but it's pretty cool.
Hey, we got 61 here, so we're chilling.
That's nice. So do you have any other takeaways I had one more takeaway from this press conference today. Tell me what you think. Someone asked Kyle, what was Jimmy's reaction to this trade when you told him? And he said, Jimmy was pissed. He's mad. Then he laughed about it. He's like, that's Jimmy plays his best when he's mad, so maybe it's not a bad thing. And to me, like, that was a little dig at Jimmy. It's like Jimmy doesn't care enough. I wish Jimmy were mad more often. And I've always gotten that vibe that Kyle feels that Jimmy just doesn't love it as much, need it as much as he does. Did you get that vibe?
I didn't get that particular vibe, but I do think Kyle prefers a theory guy. I do think there's something to that. Like Kirk Cousins, whatever you want to say about him, you like that? Kind of fiery. Jimmy Garoppolo is a little more reserved.
No doubt.
He's kind of one tone throughout the game. Does he get hyped up? Yes, but there's no like this. Like Kyle talked about Mike McGlinchey, how he was proud of him with the Still Here game and when he was banging everybody with his helmet. Like he saw red for a second and all of that. Like we all have been there. I've been there and all of that. Jimmy doesn't have those moments where he just loses himself on the field. And I think Kyle kind of like Kirk Cousins, you like that moment when just he lost himself and he just went, you like that? So just like that, I think that maybe we're looking at something Kyle prefers. And of those quarterbacks, I have no clue if Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, or even Trevor Lawrence have had any moments like that. Because honestly, I hope they didn't, because the media probably would find that as a problem to talk about during the draft, before their draft, and talk about, well, this guy saw Reddit, he had this moment where he said you like that, and that's not good, blah, blah, blah.
Has Jimmy Garoppolo ever had a you like that moment, in your opinion?
No. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he ever loses himself like that. I think he always stays kind of in the same even composed level. I mean, even Tom Brady has had it, right? Even that throw, like when he talked there with Tyrann Mathieu in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady has those kind of moments all the time.
I feel like maybe Kyle didn't realize that he wanted a fiery quarterback until he got around Jimmy. And I think he realized that, like, part of the problem with Jimmy is, I mean, how much can you really care about football if you've been given $90 million and you're hurt? And it's like, the incentive is gone. He has no chip on his shoulder, and now he has one. And so maybe this will be the best thing that ever happened to Jimmy Garoppolo, or maybe he really doesn't care and he'll fold. I guess we'll find out.
Maybe.
Yep. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. It felt like a little dig at him. And the last thing I want to think is, which quarterback in this draft is the most fiery of the top 5?
Yeah, that's what I said. I have no clue. I don't know if you heard me, but what I was saying was that it's probably best if they didn't have one of those fiery moments, because those things are pretty touchy on how they're covered. They can either be covered as, oh, he's selfish, he shouldn't express his emotions, he should just put the ball away and go home, scoring a touchdown isn't that important. Or look at him, he cares more than anybody else, he's a winner, he wants it more, blah, blah, blah. And the media has way too much control on how an athlete is perceived based on just a simple show of emotion. So I'd hope that none of those players even had that moment.
I'm telling you, hold on. One of these 5 quarterbacks is really fiery, man.
Is it Mayo Mac? It's Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson, he talks trash. He gets into defensive players' faces. You've seen him do it. Some people like it, some people don't. But he's very anti-Jimmy in that sense. Jimmy is like, shrug it off, I'll get him next time kind of guy.
I do think that Zach Wilson is probably their dream in this draft. But, I mean, I don't look at Justin Fields as by any means as a constellation. I look at Justin Fields as you're adding a pretty special player. That's just the way I see it.
I'm just surprised. I don't feel like any team would trade 3 first-round picks for Lance, Jones, or Fields. I do think a lot of teams would trade that amount of capital for Wilson. I think a lot of teams think that dude is special. I wasn't aware that people think that Fields is that good, but it only takes one team.
Hey, I mean, they've been scouting Fields since he was in probably like 9th, 10th grade. Also, granted, it seems like you got some wind on your end that's bothering the audio.
All right. How about now?
And it's gone. Is it windy out there?
Sorry about that.
Was that the Stinger's horsepower?
I'm in Lake Tahoe. I'm at 7,000 feet. My bad.
Oh, yeah. No, what I was. Yeah. So wait, what were we talking about?
I don't know. We were talking about the wind.
Yeah, the wind.
What were we talking about? You guys confused. Tell us what we were talking about.
Oh, the Zach Wilson.
I'm waiting for the people in the comment section to remind us what we were talking about. Now, East Bay Chris just texted me and said, roll up your damn window. Thanks, East Bay Chris.
Yeah, that's what they're saying right now in the comments.
The windows
yeah. So you said that you don't think people would have traded for Justin Fields that much. I'm saying I don't know, because Justin Fields has been as hyped as Trevor Lawrence since high school, and maybe he's been a little more scrutinized because he's the second guy. And when you're the second guy, you can't be as good as the guy that's the best thing since sliced bread. So he's been a little more heavily scrutinized, but he's been scouted heavily since there. So I wouldn't be surprised. It's like the Tua situation, right? We knew Miami was enamored with Tua after one throw in a national championship game his freshman year of college. And they literally tanked for him, and they found a way to get him and all of that. And so from that standpoint, I think I wouldn't be surprised if there was a team, or there is a team, that's been enamored with Justin Fields since back then. Maybe since he was 17 years old and he worked with him once in a camp, Grant.
Only reason I ask is Gil Brandt, the legend, said he really likes Justin Fields, but he's heard that there are some teams that give him a 4th-round grade. So if teams are split on him, I just don't. It seems like people really aren't split on Zach Wilson this year for whatever reason. So that's the source of my skepticism. I feel like the Niners wouldn't have done this if they didn't think they could get Zach Wilson, but we'll find out. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Gil Brandt's, he's a Hall of Famer, so no disrespect or anything, but I feel like the last few years he's been a little bit kind of out there with what he's had to say about the draft and stuff like that. I feel like, I don't know if he had something to say last year about Justin Herbert, but I feel like the coverage about Justin Herbert during this time was pretty similar. I remember a lot of reputable mock drafts had Justin Herbert going in the 20s and had Justin Herbert falling out of the first round and thought Justin Herbert wasn't a 1st or 2nd round pick. And if you remember, part of it was even stuff like he went to Oregon and he's never left the state of Oregon, so he can't be a leader. And it was just like random personal stuff that I just found kind of rude and weird. And he just had the greatest rookie quarterback season we've ever seen. So I'd say don't overthink it with Justin Fields here.
Okay. Okay. It seems like Kyle's saying that there's going to be like a legit quarterback competition camp. Do you think that's going to happen?
No. Nah,
like,
absolutely not. There might be a legit quarterback competition between Josh Johnson and Josh Rosen on who makes the practice squad this year. But I think it's going to be pretty set in stone what their quarterback situation is by the time training camp rolls around, whether it's with Jimmy Garoppolo and the rookie's just sitting and waiting. I mean, the fans will get the rookie his opportunity regardless, because the moment Jimmy makes one bad throw, you can already get the clamoring. The Niners fans will be ready to start clamoring for the rookie. And if Jimmy Garoppolo is gone by then, which is still a likely possibility because there are still quarterback needy teams and he's a real starter who you can win with, from that standpoint, then I think that the rookie will be set in stone to be that guy, because I think they'll bring in a true backup quarterback then.
Okay, let's place a wager. You're 21 now, right?
I'm 21.
Okay, cool. I say they're going to get Zach Wilson. You say they're going to get Justin Fields. If I'm right, you gotta, man, you don't make much money. You don't got to give me nothing. But if you're right, I'll send you a bottle of wine. If I'm right, we got to figure out something that doesn't involve money. But we got to make a wager here because we got to make this more interesting.
How about this? Because I don't really drink. If I'm right,
okay, fair
then
enough.
I'll ask Jason Aponte to send you an Only Shan's sweatshirt, and you have to wear an Only Shan's sweatshirt or t-shirt for an entire week on the Cohn Zone.
Not a week.
If you're right,
that's too much. One day.
Yeah.
One day. That's too much. I can't agree to something like that, man. One day. That's too much.
Only Shan's.
God forbid. Nah, man. I can't give out free promotion like that for a whole week. You gotta pay me. But I'll do it for one day.
Fine. 2 days?
No. Uno. One stream.
One day?
With you.
One stream. Okay, fine. One stream. Then I'll do something similar then if it's.
Yeah. If I win, you got to make a t-shirt with my face on it and wear it around for a day. My Twitter. I'll make the t-shirt and I'll send it to you. It's just got my face on it.
Okay, perfect. And I'll wear it for a show. I'll do that. And what happens if it's Trey Lance or Mac Jones?
Sean says, what? What happens if it's Trey Lance or Mac Jones? Well, if it's Trey Lance, you're going to not be a Niner fan anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I would
give up.
convince myself by the end of draft night why Kyle made the best decision. And that's ultimately where I stand. And as a fan, I implore other fans to basically stand in that same spot, because at the end of the day, I think all of us agree we believe in Kyle Shanahan. Whoever he picks, I'm going to believe in, because that's who he believes in. And he's finally picked a guy he believes in. And if he fails, then he fails. And that's Kyle Shanahan's fault. But if he doesn't fail and Kyle's right, he's probably going to be a superstar.
I'm telling you, man, Kyle's got this look on his face, man. He's smug right now. He's got this look on his face like
he knows who he wants. He knows who he wants. All this pro day stuff is just semantics now.
Yeah, and I get, but it's like everyone's arguing, should it be Fields, should it be Jones, should it be Lance? He's got this smug look like it's not going to be any of them, man. It's going to be Zach Wilson, and everyone's going to call me a freaking genius. And now maybe Robert Saleh played Kyle Shanahan, and they're going to pull the rug out from underneath him, and I just don't think that Saleh would lie to him. I think he's a man of integrity, and I think that he wouldn't lead Kyle astray. I think Kyle thinks he knows something that no one knows, and that the Jets are going to shock the world with this one. But we'll see. We got a wager on it. I'm not trying to change your mind, because we already put bets on it. You can't back out now, even though I know I changed your mind already. 5,000 Wilson is a Jet. I'm not lying. Chris Bucko's back. He said $5,000 Wilson's a Jet. I'm not lying. Hey, well,
I'm with Chris Bucko.
Only chance.
Who, Chris Bucko or you?
Yeah, it's probably Bucko.
Yeah, so you're going to be wearing some
I'm the only chance guy now.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know if Jason Ponte is listening.
Jr.'s on my side.
I mean, that's okay. I mean, Jim Mora Jr. seems like a pretty swell guy. That interview was pretty fun. You were like, was the lake right behind you? What was that like?
Yeah, man, I was here this morning. I was trying to do it with you too, and have the lake North Star Resort in the background, but the laptop keeps running out of juice, and I don't have anywhere to plug it in, so I'm in my car with the thing plugged in. Really high tech stuff.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. You want to take a couple questions for maybe a few minutes and then just call it?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a couple questions and then we'll wrap it up, and I'll get back to my vacation, which has been so relaxing.
I'm sure.
A couple of weeks ago, I thought this was going to be like the slow time in the off season, but I was wrong.
I mean, that news came out of nowhere.
All right, so if you got some, I mean, there's been a million questions that we haven't taken. I've been putting them on the screen. I've been trying to get you some FaceTime, but I'll look through real quick and answer some questions. Then we'll get going. Someone said, "Nice rip bod, dude. I haven't worked out since the pandemic hit. Let me tell you that." Hold on. Why is everyone now looking like they drank and woke up next to someone in Tijuana now? I did what? Why do I feel like Kyle can blow this? I don't really know what you're asking.
I don't know what to say to that.
The Niners swung for the fences here. I don't know what to say to that either, but it does seem like the Niners swung for the fences and they need to.
I mean,
it's a scary
Kyle
thing.
Kyle could blow this.
You don't know what's going to happen.
And if Kyle blows this, then it's going to be the worst thing that's ever happened to 49ers fans, in my opinion. As a big Kyle Shanahan believer, that means he's going to be a head coach somewhere else, and he might learn from his mistakes and go do some great things somewhere else. So let's hope he doesn't blow it.
And here's the thing, like even if they get Zach Wilson, I mean, that's not like slam dunk pick.
No.
There's some questions with him too.
Yeah, I mean, there's questions with everybody on whether they actually end up developing to their capabilities. He's definitely got tons of talent, though.
Real quick,
yeah, I think
that. Oh, hold on, which one?
Go ahead, my bad.
They said if they take Jones, I'll be sick all year long. Do you think Niner fans will be able to talk themselves into Jones if he's the guy?
Look, I'm not telling you that I'm going to be like over the moon the way I would be if it's Justin Fields or Zach Wilson with Mac Jones. I'm just saying don't write him off. He wouldn't be a bad pick. There's really not like anything like football-wise, what everybody's telling you is that they don't want him because they want somebody more exciting. But they're not telling you they don't want him because he's not accurate or he doesn't make this particular throw. Like, and I hate this comparison to Garoppolo, I think there's 4 quarterbacks in this draft right now that in this offense would be better than Garoppolo day one, and that's Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones. And he's not Garoppolo. He's what you want Garoppolo to be. Garoppolo misses reads. This guy doesn't miss reads. Garoppolo sometimes doesn't know where to go with the ball. This guy never doesn't know where to go with the ball. Garoppolo sometimes is inaccurate. This guy almost is never inaccurate. Garoppolo sometimes has bad timing with his throws and is bailed out by his release. This guy's timing is impeccable. So in the offense's best, it's a very precise offense, and Mac Jones is a very precise quarterback, or that's what he showed in college. Do I want him more than Justin Fields? No. Would he be a bad pick? No. He has all the requisite skill set to be a solid to very good quarterback in this offense.
Aldo says Texas A&M can scout good quarterbacks. Will Kyle draft or pass on Mind? I don't understand that sentence. Hold on. As he seems to be the most experienced and has progressed every year. Look, there's that Parcells thing about like how to draft quarterbacks. You want guys with experience, and there's like 7 things. There's like 7 different things. You don't have to have all 7, but it's good to have like 5 of them historically. Now, Mahomes had 2. Josh Allen had 3. There are always exceptions. But usually those guys are exceptions for a reason. They're special. And I don't know. I guess people feel like Fields is special. Jones is special. But they don't check those boxes. The only ones that really do in this draft are Lawrence, Wilson, Mond, basically those 3.
I think Fields got robbed by the full season. I think he would have checked the boxes if he had the full season. So I'd put him kind of as a almost. Yes. It's an interesting way to think about it. Like Justin Herbert, I think he checked all 7. All 7. I think so too, Grant, and I think Joe Burrow did as well. But Connor Cook also was the ideal Parcells quarterback in 2016. So. Just saying.
Hey, it's not foolproof. It's not foolproof. No. You actually have to watch the film, but it's something to keep in mind.
No, but Grant, also I did want to say, so a lot of people say like we're trading 3 picks to get an above average QB in Jones. I think the one thing you're missing is that if you take Lance or even say Fields, I love Fields, so I'm not going to say it about him. And I still think Lance has an opportunity to be very, very good if things work out right. I just don't know. Like, I think the range of possibilities with Lance are a little too scattered in terms of me being confident about whether he's going to be the best he could possibly be or whether he could flame out. And so that's where he's a little scary to me. But what happens if you trade 3 picks for a guy who flames out? Isn't it better to get a guy like that? That's where I have the question. And someone said Fields 48% completion percentage against pressure. I will say this, is that against the blitz? Because I will say one thing, I think that offense with Ryan Day is very overrated. I don't think the offense itself is well equipped to handle the rush. I think their pass protection scheme is very elementary. I mean, we saw it. Chip Kelly, part of the reason his offense got exposed was that he had a very, very normal pass protection scheme that defenses started abusing. Cliff Kingsbury, the last 8 games of last year, teams mugged the front, played split safety, and absolutely dominated what their pass protection scheme was. So from that standpoint, I would say Justin Fields' offense didn't exactly help him either.
Yeah. I guess here's my thing with Justin Fields. I feel like his strengths are great, but his weaknesses, to me, are like Jimmy's. Like, he's nothing like Jimmy in the sense that he throws downfield well. Jimmy doesn't. He's really freaking fast. Jimmy isn't. But the weaknesses are timing, decisiveness, those kind of things. And I feel like if Kyle doesn't like Jimmy, Kyle might be predisposed to nitpick Fields. Right or wrong.
So the one thing I will say is Fields has an offense where timing can be a little difficult to come by. I mean, people have touched on it ad nauseum, the side adjustments to routes and all of that. Jimmy plays in an offense where timing is pretty defined. The reads are very defined. So if you don't have the best of timing within this offense, then I can see it. With at least Fields, you can make an excuse in terms of the context. With Jimmy, like Jimmy's a solid player. I don't want to feel like we're always just critiquing Jimmy, but he's a solid player. But that's a part of his game where when the offense offers so much, he's not the best at it.
But hold on, the thing about the excuse for Fields, I've heard that a lot of times, and it's valid, but that doesn't mean he's a quick decision maker and that he has good timing. It just means that he's an unknown because he has an excuse and he wasn't able to show it at Ohio State. He's either a slow decision maker, or he has potential in that area and Ohio State held him back. Either way, that's a major projection, and I think Kyle, in particular, would be like, not in my offense. Now, an offense like Carolina, that is a spread offense anyway, would say might look at Justin Fields and be like, oh my God, he's going to drop to us at 8. Like he's our ideal quarterback anyway.
So here's where I'll disagree, and this is just my opinion on this. I mean, you can disagree with it. I'm certainly no expert, but the way I see it is that the thing with there's two things with that. So the Ohio State offense, right? We talked about that. You said it's in what happened?
Nothing.
Okay. Oh, you just made a very weird face at the game. Oh, but yeah. So the Ohio State offense, you talked about,
really small.
Yeah, and you talked about it as a relatively unknown, right, on whether he can do it. The one thing I will say with Justin Fields that's been clear the last 2 years is that he's smart. He often, like Kyle talks about going to the right place with the ball. Yes. I mean, even if Justin Fields can be a tick late at times, he's almost always going to the right place with the ball. So you know he's smart. And two, I feel like this is an offense that does a lot of the fast processing for a quarterback. It's a lot of, they define it very easy, and they do a lot of the mental stuff for the quarterback, which is where I say where maybe with Justin Fields, when Kyle does the fast processing for him and lets him play fast and really highlights his physical skills, that's where I think he could really, really shine within this particular offense.
Okay, 2 more. Why are people not looking at the money side? This pick means Jones, Wilson, and Fred Warner, Bosa instead of Jimmy G without those guys. Yeah, it's a good point.
I mean,
it's a good point.
Grant and I have been talking about the money side for a long time. If you want a full breakdown on the money side, Blake and I actually did a stream with Akash, I think a few days before the trade on our show, on our channel, and we literally went through the scenario as to why they needed to trade up and why it made the most, it was the most prudent move for them financially as well. So if you want to go check that out, Blake and Vish Sports, Grant, shameless plug.
Holla. Yeah, definitely do that. Definitely follow, subscribe, watch. It's coming up. The dude's already got 3,000 subscribers. I'm just saying I had 3,000 subscribers at this time last year, so you should get on that Vish train now before it leaves you behind. What was I? Oh, final. I think this is a good one, a good topic to end on. Do you think Kyle will do what New Orleans did with Breeze and Taysom? 2 quarterbacks was successful till the rookie developed enough. Breeze Hill was successful. The reason this person is asking this question is because Kyle and the Niners are saying we're keeping Jimmy. And it's kind of like, I think Niner fans are a little confused. Like, how does this work? Like, you the number 3 pick, this guy's going to be good. He's going to be ready. Is there a way to use both of them? I know, like, the answer is no, but what you see where the fans are coming from with this one, right?
I hate this, especially with the first round pick. Like, I hated the entire Lamar Jackson package in Baltimore until Joe Flacco. And then they finally put Lamar Jackson into the game, and they went, 5-1 down the stretch, and he carried them to the playoffs, right? But he didn't win the playoff game, Grant, so he choked, He didn't just win 5 games in a row to take him to the playoffs. So, yeah, that's where I stand. When you're taking a guy 3rd overall, you're not asking him to come in and do the Taysom Hill package for a year. I hate that idea. He better be ready to go and ready to play, and if not, then I don't want to see him on the field doing that package. I feel like that's stupid.
Also, I think Kyle has to be careful because at a certain point, if you jerk around Jimmy too much, if you put him on the bench, if you make him a part-time player, you're going to divide the locker room. There's going to be certain players on that team that think Jimmy's getting a raw deal and not being treated fairly. And there's going to be certain guys on that team that feel like Jimmy shouldn't even be there anymore and they should just move on. I mean, they got to avoid that.
Right. And it's not even because it won't even be like a situation that they think Jimmy G is like the best quarterback in the NFL or that Jimmy G is like their favorite person in the world, or they could actually think that. Who the hell knows? It could just be like, wow, you're just not treating this guy right.
Exactly. And from Jimmy's perspective, like, he's been a real good sport about all this. You know, he's not an elite quarterback. There's no shame in that. You know, I mean, it's not like he doesn't work hard or like he's out partying all the time or he complains or he's requested a trade. None of that. At a
Mm-hmm.
certain point, they have to at least be, you know, professional with him and not just throw him in the dumpster and treat him like he doesn't matter. I think at a certain point, he'd be within his rights to say, okay, now I'm being treated unfairly. I would like a trade
Yeah, for
or a
sure. I
release.
mean, yeah. And I think from that standpoint that Taysom, oh, we moved on. I see Jimmy, get me out of here, Kyle. I'm done. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could see that. I definitely could see that. And there. This is the offseason where there are a ton of spots for him. Like Washington's still a good spot for him. The Carolina Panthers, if they don't get a quarterback, is a good spot for him. Maybe he goes to Denver. I don't know. Maybe New England's still a spot for him. So yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if privately these conversations. Yo, you still there?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Kyle's saying like, dude, don't request a trade. Like, compete. Go beat this kid, man. You think you're good? Go beat this kid right now. We'll keep you then.
Yeah, for sure. And then Grant, you got quite a few more questions. What
all right,
was
let's try to hit
about?
him up. I know going back to hold on, I can get it. Sorry, my phone is so. Oh, okay, here we go. Smart off topic. Do either of you guys own an NBA Top Shots? What do you think of it? Hopefully, the NFL does something similar. I have no idea what that is, so I don't know what you're talking about there. Sorry. Next question.
Yeah, I don't know what that is
RG3
either.
effect if we grab? Do you see a similar RG3 effect if we grab Justin Fields? I mean, Kyle Shanahan's built an offense, you know, around a guy who comes from like RG3 played in a spread offense at Baylor. Kyle's done this before. He's built an offense that accommodates a quarterback like that. Can he? And the dude won. Was it the rookie of the year?
Yeah, he did. He did. But
or was he not? I don't remember. Yeah,
I don't see. I don't see it as a necessary with Justin Fields. Like, I think Justin Fields functioned better in terms of being just able to just be willing to stand in the pocket and throw than RG3 did when he came out of the college. RG3 made a lot of plays where the pocket was broken. He just ran out of there and when it made plays. So
right,
from that,
right. But that's not what I'm asking. I'm just saying, like, do you think that Kyle can succeed because he's had that type of background with a spread quarterback?
100%.
A lot of people say like, well, he's not going to want this quarterback. Yeah.
No, and
yeah.
the quarterback run game, like I'm sure Kyle, who's a great run game coordinator with Mike McDaniel, I'm sure he would want a quarterback who can carry it 5 to 6 times in a game. The quarterback run game, in my opinion, is actually the most effective run game in the red zone. That's why the Saints run game in the red zone is so effective, because they can put Taysom Hill in there. The Patriots have a good red zone run game with Cam Newton. It makes you so multiple in the red zone.
Yeah, it's really hard to run the ball in the red zone normally because it's just so compact. You need an extra blocker. It really does help. Ali says if the Jets really aren't taking a quarterback at 2, why wouldn't they trade down and acquire more assets? We'll wait till draft day. I think they probably will.
I think they are taking a quarterback at 2. So Grant will be wearing his only Shan shirt. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Well, hey, Chris Bucco says you're right. So we'll have to see.
Chris Bucco also said $5,000
because I can only do $5,000. Hey man, Chris, we got to shake on that one. Otherwise, it doesn't count. Hey, well, Vish, thank you so much for bearing with me as I did this really janky Mondays with Vish from my car in 8,000 feet. I'll be home tomorrow, and I won't be doing this again for a while. But it was an adventure. You were great. I can't say the same for me.
Appreciate it. Possibly, I'll let you know. Maybe we can have a rerun tomorrow and see what happens. I'll let you know, though.
Okay, sweet. You and I are going to be going on with Jason tomorrow night, right? The All-Star.
Oh wait, yeah,
Roundtable?
yeah. Never mind. Yeah, then yeah, I'm probably out tomorrow. I can only afford to fit one stream into my schedule. I still got school,
Okay.
people.
It's true. That's true. That's true. Well, hey, thanks for giving me an hour today. I'll see you tomorrow on the All-Star Roundtable. I'll try to hold my own.
Oh, of course you will.
And everyone, thanks for watching. Thanks for donating. I'll be back to my normal setup in my bedroom tomorrow. So if this bothered you today, don't worry. It's not going to be a regular thing. Vish, I'll hit you up soon. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, for sure. Thank